You wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone. Before you even brush your teeth, you're already scrolling through the screen. 3 hours later, you realize you still haven't had coffee. Sound familiar? This routine isn't an accident. It was carefully planned. In 1932, long before the internet existed, a writer named Aldous Huxley predicted exactly this. He saw that in the future, people would be controlled not by force, but by pleasure, and that they themselves would ask to be controlled. The most frightening part. We're living in exactly the world he described, and most of us don't even realize it. Imagine if someone told you that you're being manipulated at this very moment, that your choices aren't really yours, that there's a massive system working 24 hours a day to keep your attention glued to a screen. Would you believe it? The truth is, we're in the middle of the greatest mind control experiment in human history. But unlike science fiction movies, nobody's pointing guns at our heads. Instead, they're offering us exactly what we want: infinite entertainment. Aldous Huxley understood something that his contemporaries couldn't see. He realized that the future wouldn't be a prison with bars, but an amusement park with no exit. And the door to this prison would be kept open. People would simply choose not to leave. In the world Huxley imagined in Brave New World, there was a drug called soma, a substance that made people feel good, but also prevented them from thinking deeply about their lives. Today, that drug doesn't come in pills. It comes in pixels. Every time you pick up your phone, you're taking a dose of digital soma. Every notification is a small injection of pleasure into your brain. Every like, every comment, every new video is another sip of this addictive substance that keeps you always coming back for more. The most brilliant thing about this system is that it doesn't look like a control system. It looks like total freedom. You can watch anything, anytime. You can choose from millions of options. You can interact, comment, share. You feel in absolute control. And that's exactly how you should feel. But there's a crucial difference between the soma in the book and our current entertainment. Soma was honest about what it did. It was clearly a drug. Our digital entertainment, on the other hand, promises to connect us with the world, inform us about everything, constantly educate us. Meanwhile, it disconnects us from reality, misinforms us, and systematically dumbs us down. Decades after Huxley, another French thinker named Guy Debord created a concept that perfectly explains our times: the society of the spectacle. Debord showed that our real life has been replaced by an infinite collection of images. We no longer live direct experiences. We live representations of experiences. Think about it. How many times have you photographed a plate of food before eating it? How many times have you recorded a concert instead of simply watching it? How many times have you documented a moment instead of fully living it? Debord called this spectacle, when life becomes a performance to be consumed by others. While George Orwell imagined a future of terror and repression in 1984, Huxley saw something much more subtle and effective. He predicted that we would be controlled not by what is denied to us, but by what is offered to us in excess. Not by scarcity, but by total abundance of entertainment. The difference between these two visions is fundamental to understanding our current world. Orwell's world generates revolt and resistance. People fight against visible oppression, but Huxley's world generates satisfaction and gratitude. Why fight against something that makes us feel good? Why question a system that constantly entertains us? And here we arrive at the central point of this analysis. Huxley was completely right. We live today in exactly the world he described in 1932. A world where people are controlled through pleasure, not pain. Where freedom is voluntarily traded for infinite entertainment. Huxley wasn't just any writer creating fiction for fun. He came from a family of brilliant scientists. His grandfather was one of the greatest biologists in history. His brother won the Nobel Prize. Aldous deeply understood human nature and the science behind human behavior. When he wrote about control through pleasure, he wasn't just inventing an interesting story. He was applying solid scientific knowledge about how our mind works. He knew that we are creatures driven by basic impulses. that we always seek the easiest path, that we prefer immediate pleasure over future benefit. The society Huxley imagined had a conditioning system that started from birth. Children were educated to accept their place in society through sophisticated techniques called hypnopedia, learning during sleep. They heard repetitive messages that shaped their personality before they could even think for themselves. Today, our conditioning started much earlier than Huxley imagined. 2-year-old children already know how to use tablets with impressive skill. At 5, they watch cartoons for hours without stopping, absorbing values and behaviors. At 10, they have their own cell phones. And at 15, they spend more time looking at screens than interacting with real people. But the difference is that in Huxley's world, conditioning was obvious and institutional. There were laboratories, scientists, a clear and visible system of control. In our world, conditioning is completely invisible. It happens in our homes, in our bedrooms, in the palms of our hands. Technology companies hire the best neuroscientists, psychologists, and behavior specialists in the world. They study exactly how our brain reacts to different colors, sounds, movements, and patterns. How we can be conditioned to automatically perform certain actions. How we can become addicted to certain digital experiences. Every element of an app is tested thousands of times with user groups. The exact color of a button. The specific sound of a notification. The precise time between one stimulus and another. Everything is scientifically calculated to generate maximum possible dependence. To make you always come back, more and more frequently. And it works frighteningly effectively. Studies show that people check their phones more than 150 times per day. This means that every 6 minutes you're awake, you feel an almost irresistible need to look at the screen. Can you think of any chemical drug more addictive than this? In Huxley's book, there were different well-defined social castes. The alphas were intelligent and led society. The betas helped with administration. The gammas, deltas, and epsilons did simpler and more repetitive work. Each group was genetically modified and psychologically conditioned to accept their role and be completely happy with it. Today, we don't have official castes or genetic modification. But digital entertainment has created a social division very similar to what Huxley described. There's a small elite that produces content and deeply understands how the system works. And there's a massive crowd that only passively consumes, without questioning, without understanding the psychological mechanisms behind what they're seeing. Digital content producers know advanced psychology, applied neuroscience, sophisticated techniques of persuasion and manipulation. They know exactly how to capture and maintain attention, how to generate specific emotions, how to make people act in certain ways, how to create psychological dependence. Meanwhile, consumers sincerely believe they're just having innocent fun. They don't realize that every click, every scroll, every second watching is being monitored, analyzed, and used to manipulate them even more efficiently in the next interaction. Artificial intelligence has made this process even more powerful and personalized. Now, the system learns about you individually, in real time. It discovers your specific weak points, your particular fears, your secret desires, your deep insecurities, and it uses all this intimate information to create personalized content that you simply can't resist. Debord explained that in the society of the spectacle, all human relationships become mediated by images. We no longer interact directly with the world or with people. There's always a screen, a camera, a representation between us and real experience. Authentic life disappears, replaced by its spectacular version. Huxley showed that perfect control doesn't need physical violence. It doesn't need explicit threats. It doesn't need fear or terror. Perfect control makes you feel like you're choosing freely. It makes you believe you're in total command of the situation. It makes you actively defend the very system that controls you. Think honestly about how many times you've defended your right to use your phone whenever you wanted. How many times you've gotten genuinely irritated when someone suggested you were addicted to social media. How many times you've justified hours lost watching videos as deserved relaxation time or necessary rest. That's the diabolical genius of the current system. It has transformed control into individual rights. manipulation into personal freedom, addiction into conscious choice, and any criticism of the system is automatically seen as a direct attack on your individual autonomy and basic rights. In Huxley's world, the most dangerous people to the system were those who questioned the imposed artificial happiness. There were characters like Bernard Marx who felt uncomfortable with all that forced joy. And there was John, the savage, who came from outside conditioned society and could see how completely artificial it was. Today, the most dangerous people to the entertainment control system are those who consciously choose to disconnect, who voluntarily limit their screen time, who prefer reading physical books to watching quick videos, who value deep and meaningful conversations more than likes on superficial posts. These people are quickly labeled as weird, antisocial, out of fashion, or simply boring. The system has created a powerful social stigma around those who choose not to fully participate in constant digital entertainment. It's a subtle but extremely effective pressure to keep everyone inside the spectacular matrix. Huxley realized that artificial happiness can be infinitely more addictive than any known chemical drug, because it meets fundamental and deep psychological needs of human beings. The need for social belonging, for external validation, for constant mental stimulation, for escape from uncomfortable reality. Modern entertainment is scientifically designed to meet exactly these ancestral needs. It offers an artificial version of community through instant comments and likes, an artificial version of success through views and followers, an artificial version of adventure and discovery through infinite games and series. And since these psychological needs are never really satisfied by the artificial and superficial versions offered, we create an endless, vicious cycle. We always need more content, more stimulation, more validation, more escape. It's a psychological hole that can never be filled because it was deliberately designed to always be empty. Debord showed that spectacle is not a collection of images, but a social relationship between people mediated by images. What matters is not the specific content of entertainment, but how it reorganizes our social relationships, how it makes us relate to each other through representations instead of direct experiences. Time has become the most valuable currency of the digital age, and entertainment is the most efficient system ever created to steal this currency from us, second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour. Without us consciously realizing it, entire years of our life are transferred for free to the bank accounts of companies that profit from our attention. Huxley wrote about a world where people didn't have time to think deeply because they were always busy with pleasurable activities. There was always something fun to do. There was always some distraction available. Boredom was completely eliminated from human experience. Today, we've managed to eliminate boredom in a way Huxley never imagined possible. We no longer need to plan our entertainment in advance. It's always there, in the palm of our hand, infinite and personalized to our specific tastes. We never again need to be alone with our own thoughts for more than a few seconds. But Huxley knew something fundamental. Boredom is absolutely essential for human psychological and spiritual development. It's in moments of silence and emptiness that we have our best ideas. It's when we have nothing external to do that we begin to question our life. It's in the total absence of external stimuli that we finally come into contact with our inner world. By completely eliminating boredom from human experience, entertainment has also eliminated our natural capacity for self-knowledge. We never have enough time to process our experiences. We never stop to honestly reflect on our choices. We never question whether we're really happy or just constantly distracted. Collective memory has also become a victim of constant entertainment. Huxley showed a society where the past was completely irrelevant. People lived only in the immediate and hedonistic present. There was no meaningful history. There was no cultural tradition. There was no learning from past mistakes. Today, our personal and collective memory is being systematically outsourced to machines. We no longer remember phone numbers because they're saved in our phones. We no longer remember routes because we have GPS. We no longer remember information because we can search for everything instantly at any time. But there's a fundamental difference between having immediate access to information and actually knowing something. Real knowledge requires time for mental digestion. It requires deep reflection. It requires creative connection between different ideas. And this only happens when we stop consuming new information and begin to calmly process what we've already received. Constant entertainment completely prevents this processing by incessantly bombarding us with new information. Each day brings different news. Each hour brings different videos. Each minute brings different posts. We never have enough time to really understand what's happening in the world or in our own lives. Huxley predicted with frightening accuracy that people would gradually lose the ability to read long and complex books, that they would only be able to consume information in small, easily digestible pieces, that serious literature would be completely replaced by superficial and immediate entertainment. Look honestly around you. How many people do you know who still read books regularly? How many can concentrate on a long text without checking their phone? How many prefer to read a complete article instead of just the title and comments? Language is also being systematically simplified to accommodate fragmented attention. Social media posts have strict character limits. Videos need to grab attention in the first 3 seconds, or they're ignored. Complex conversations turn into emojis and memes. We're rapidly losing the ability to express sophisticated ideas because we no longer have time or patience to develop them adequately. In Huxley's world, human relationships were deliberately superficial and completely disposable. People didn't form deep and lasting bonds. They didn't commit to relationships that required emotional work. Everything was temporary, replaceable, and oriented toward immediate pleasure. Does this remind you of something familiar in the era of dating apps? Digital entertainment is creating an entire generation of people who prefer virtual relationships to real interactions, who feel more comfortable talking through screens than in person, who replace real intimacy with parasocial relationships, that artificial feeling of knowing celebrities or influencers they've never met personally. Children born today grow up thinking it's completely normal to have hundreds of online friends they've never seen in person, that it's natural to obsessively document every moment of life in photos and videos, that it's expected to receive constant approval from strangers on the internet to validate their self-esteem. Debord explained that spectacle creates a false social unity. People watching the same programs, consuming the same products, following the same trends, believe they're connected, but it's an artificial connection based on shared consumption, not genuine relationships. Huxley showed that when we artificially eliminate all suffering from life, we also eliminate the possibility of real spiritual growth. His characters never faced genuine challenges. They never went through difficulties that forced them to mature. They never developed strength of character because they never needed to be truly strong. Modern entertainment creates a very similar psychological bubble. Sophisticated algorithms show us only content they know we'll like and agree with. We're never exposed to ideas that truly challenge us. We never encounter opinions fundamentally different from ours. We never need to defend our viewpoints or honestly question them. This creates a society of mentally fragile and emotionally immature people, who don't know how to deal with frustration or contradiction, who are easily offended by any disagreement, who obsessively avoid any kind of emotional discomfort, who prefer to live in comfortable fantasies rather than face unpleasant but true realities. Democracy, which fundamentally depends on informed, engaged citizens capable of critical thinking, simply cannot function in a society of people addicted to entertainment. Complex political issues are reduced to viral memes. Serious debates are replaced by virtual fights. The search for truth is abandoned in favor of confirming prejudices. Debord showed that in the society of the spectacle, politics becomes just another show to be consumed. Candidates are sold like products. Elections become entertainment competitions. Complex social issues are simplified into dramatic narratives to capture attention. Huxley didn't believe in violent revolutions or externally imposed changes. He deeply believed that real and lasting change only happens when people wake up internally, when they stop seeking happiness and meaning in external things and begin to develop their own inner strength. Resistance to control through entertainment doesn't begin with organized protests or grand social movements. It begins with small but meaningful personal choices. turning off your phone for a few hours, consciously choosing a book instead of a video, having a deep conversation instead of scrolling through infinite feeds. Huxley spent the last years of his life intensively studying meditation, mysticism, and altered states of consciousness. He realized that the only truly effective way to resist external conditioning is to develop internal awareness and strength. It's learning to find genuine peace and satisfaction within yourself, instead of eternally depending on external stimuli. This doesn't necessarily mean completely rejecting modern technology or entertainment. It means using them consciously and purposefully instead of being passively used by them. It means actively and critically choosing what to consume instead of compulsively consuming what's offered. True freedom in the digital age isn't having unlimited access to more content. It's having the mental discipline to consciously choose less. It's developing the psychological capacity to be alone with your own thoughts without anxiety. It's rediscovering the genuine pleasure of simple activities that don't involve screens. Debord proposed the concept of derive, wandering through the city without specific destination, allowing the environment to influence your movements and discoveries. It was a way to break with the controlled geography of consumption and rediscover authentic spaces of direct experience. Huxley taught us that the price of real freedom is eternal vigilance, not over others, but rigorously over ourselves. It's constant and honest awareness of our own choices, motivations, and behaviors. It's personal responsibility to protect our attention as we would protect our money or physical health. Every moment you spend truly conscious, questioning your actions, actively choosing instead of automatically reacting to stimuli, is a moment of real and authentic freedom. It's a small but significant victory against the system that wants to turn you into just another passive consumer of infinite entertainment. The final irony is that Huxley and Debord showed us that the perfect prison is one that prisoners don't realize is a prison, one that they defend, one for which they're grateful, one that they confuse with freedom. We're living in that prison now. The question is, do you want to keep sleeping, or are you ready to wake up? Aldous Huxley left us a prophetic warning that remains more relevant today than when it was written almost a century ago. He showed that the greatest danger to humanity doesn't come from cruel dictators or obvious repressive systems, but from our own uncontrolled desires and our infinite search for easy pleasure. Entertainment has become our voluntary prison, and most of us don't even realize we're trapped. But knowledge is real power. Now that you understand how the system works, you can make genuinely different choices. The key isn't to completely reject technology or entertainment, but to find balance. Consciously choose content that truly adds value to your life, like educational videos that expand your mind. Develop the habit of questioning everything you see on the internet. Not everything is true, and much is manipulation disguised as information. Don't let yourself be constantly shaken by the dramatic news that bombards you every day. It's normal to want to have fun and relax, but police yourself not to focus only on that. Set aside time to leave the house, talk with real people, have genuine experiences away from screens. Your real life, with true relationships, is worth much more than any virtual reality. You can recover your attention and your time. You can rediscover the deep pleasure of thinking clearly. You can become truly free, not just feel free. The choice, as Huxley always knew, is eternally yours. If this content opened your eyes to this hidden reality, subscribe to the channel for more reflections that go against the current of automatic thinking. And leave your like so more people can discover these fundamental truths that can transform their lives. Your awakened consciousness is the first and most important step toward real freedom.